recap, maybe most of you already know about what a product owner does and probably what are the roles and responsibilities of a product owner. Maybe some of you in this session are already playing role of product owners, but we'll just quickly do a quick recap of, the product owner role as such, and then get into the tools and techniques. So basically, when we talk about product owner, it's very much, very common and sort of a buzz these days in the industry, that the role of product owner is very prominent. So whenever probably we are looking out for any, or browsing any job portals, we do come across the product owner role or a designation. So what exactly does a product owner does, and who is basically a product owner? So again, it's a very common role when we talk about agile and scrum. So that's where it has emerged. And what exactly who basically a product owner is? So basically he's the person who creates the product vision. So probably you can tell that, okay, he or she is basically a visionary or a doer. So he or she knows what exactly your product that you're building, right? What the product is intended to do, and what basically the features that the product would eventually have. And of course, the product owner is a leader or a team player, because he or she is basically leading the entire team, the entire development team, as well as sort of partially the business team, and pulling everyone, and ensuring that we're creating the right product. And of course, he or she is empowered and committed, because of course a product owner very well understands and knows what features he or she wants to add into the product, how those features are going to be beneficial. Sometimes probably during the course of work, right? Because a product owner is continuously doing a lot of market analysis, doing a lot of competitor studies also. So maybe sometime down the line, he or she feels that, okay, the feature that is planned to be built might not be good enough or might not be relevant anymore. So product owner is basically empowered to take such decisions, right? When to scrap a feature completely, or when to modify a certain feature of that product, or if he wants to introduce any new feature. So the complete empowerment of feature of that particular product lies on the hands of the product owner. Of course, he and she has to be a very good communicator and negotiator. When I talk about communicator, it's mainly about communicating the requirements to the team, definitely. And of course, negotiator in the sense, the product owner is constantly negotiating with sales and marketing team also, to some extent. Like, probably a feature needs to be delivered, it would take a certain amount of time. So that sort of negotiation keeps happening with the sales and marketing team, or what kind of feature that's been developed. So that's the reason it's very good communicator and negotiator. And of course, the product owner is always available for the team to clarify any questions, any doubts, any discrepancies that comes up during the sprint development. And what exactly a product owner does, like on a day-to-day activities, what he or she is doing. So he's constantly working with the scrum team. He or she is constantly collaborating with the scrum master in terms of prioritizing the stories that would get into a sprint, or decomposing the stories into smaller chunks. So that kind of a collaboration is always there. Also working constantly with the customers and the end users, along with the stakeholders. So end users are basically the end customers who will be using your product. So working closely with them, understanding the requirements, understanding what the stakeholder wants. So that complete coordination activities is done by the product owner. And eventually, when you're doing all these things, you eventually try to envision the product itself, like, what your product that you're building, what it is intended to do. So envisioning the product is a very key aspect, or a very important key role of a product owner. And then working with the product backlog. So, day in and day out, prioritizing the backlog, detailing down the items in the product backlog is the day-to-day activity of a product owner. planning the releases. So when a certain release is planned, right? So what are the features should go into the first release, or the subsequent releases? What is a preferable day, or the preferable time scale of that release? So all that release planning is also being done by the product owner. Then he or she also collaborates in different sprint meetings, right? Be it sprint planning, be it a sprint review. So the collaboration is there with the team as well as stakeholders. And eventually, when you're doing all these activities, you definitely become a great product owner at the end. Right. In terms of the roles and responsibilities of a product owner, definitely the main aim of a product owner is always to ensure that we are maximizing the value of the product. So no matter what feature we are developing, we ensure that the maximum value add is coming out of it. So the main thing, what we always try to, as product owners, what we always try to think while we prioritize one feature over the above is like, we pick up a feature which is definitely giving a lot of value add with minimum, effort. So that is what it is. So with minimum effort, how much value add I'm going to give to the product is what, that is where you call about maximizing value. And of course, managing the product backlog, as I've already mentioned. So, prioritizing the backlog, grooming the product backlog stories, detailing them down, decomposing them into smaller chunks. So that is something which is the entire, the product backlog is owned by the product owner themselves, and creates and shares the product vision. So product owner is also responsible to create the product vision, and not only that, he or she is also responsible to ensure that they're able to share the product vision amongst everyone, not only to their stakeholders and the business, but also to the delivery team, so that they also understand, right, what the product vision is and what the product that they're building is eventually intended for. And of course, responsibility for the ROI, which is the return on investment. So if I'm building a particular feature, how that feature is going to be helpful, right, into the business, how it's going to get the value add in terms of monetary value, what is the return on investment that is coming. So that is something that the product owner needs to, of course, get involved into. In some companies, when we have the different hierarchies, sometimes we have product managers dealing these roles. So there can be different people handling, but a product owner also to some extent would always be involved in the the monetary terms, in terms of the ROI. And in smaller companies where probably you just have a product owner and not a product manager, then all these things becomes a part of the product owner role itself. And of course, you're deciding on the release dates, in the sense, okay, which release needs to go in, when it needs to go in, what features probably the release should have. And one thing to clearly think about is like, a product owner is one person and not a committee. We cannot have multiple product owners in a team. So it's always one product owner is there in a Scrum team, or to some extent, you can say for a particular product. Of course, and then collaborating with the stakeholders, understanding the requirement is also one of the key responsibilities, and eventually maximizing the work of the dev team. So ensuring that they're able to deliver more, they're more productive. That is something that falls under the roles and responsibilities of the product owner.